Hello. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Elder Abuse Virtual Coalition. My name's Elisa William, and today I have the pleasure to be talking with Professor of Psychology and Director of the Center for Aging and Disability Policy, Dr. Larry Force. Dr. Force, do you want to introduce the rest of the coalition?
I absolutely do. Thank you, Alyssa. And this is, we're third season. I mean, what started off as a phone call, 11 days later, we were able to light up, and here we are. And it's great. And the team has expanded. Our message has become broader. As Alyssa said, my name is Dr. Larry Force. I'm a professor of psychology at Mount St. Mary College. And with my dear friend, Jeffrey Kahana, we run a Center on Aging and Disability Policy. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support, the unbelievable support from Steve Newhouse and from Orange County and from Anne Marie Maglione. Anne Marie and I typically, Alyssa acts as the moderator, Anne Marie and I typically act as the facilitator, but based upon a conflict of schedule, she was not able to make it today. But we've talked about what the theme is. The theme is navigating the maze, and we want to be able to put a face on this now, and I think we've done a really good job. Our mailing lists have increased. I know that some people are using this for in-service training for their agencies, and I think it's been really good. Along with, as Alyssa said, the team, Tim Murphy. Tim Murphy, again, he's not here today because he's on vacation. He's the Director of Adult Protective Services. Dr. Jerry Abatiello. Dr. Jerry Abatiello, again, conflict, traveling. She wasn't able to make it today, but Jerry, or Ger, as we all know her, is wonderful. And she brings such a soothing and anchoring voice to this whole issue of elder abuse, which can be chaotic. Sandy Altman, advocate, attorney, musician, Renaissance man, known each other for a long time. We've been in parallel meetings together for 20 plus odd years. He's an advocate for the Alzheimer's Association. You'll find him writing, and his voice is strong and his voice is powerful. So we're so glad he is here. Danielle Maglione. Danielle Maglione joined us last season, and she's been a wonderful asset in helping us, stay on course, stitch all of this together. So Danielle, and Danielle, can I say it publicly? Danielle is now the mother of a beautiful baby named Betty. So please, applause, applause, applause for Danielle. That's wonderful. So congratulations. And Sandy's like, yes, 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 we're all like that. My dear friend, Sharon Mary Cohen. We've known each other for 30 plus years. We talk multiple times during the course of the week, usually on Sharon's schedule, which is 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning with barking dogs in the background. But it's always good to hear from Sharon. You look in the dictionary and you look up advocate, or you look up grant writer, queen of grant writing, you're going to find Sharon's face. She is so dedicated and motivated. If she gets a cause and you're behind it, you really have a powerful ally. She gets a cause and you're against it, you really have a powerful entity in your face. She's unbelievable. So with that, Sharon, I'd like you to welcome your interns, because you've done a nice job of Sharon as the Executive Director of Jewish Family Services in Ulster County. She's always has a cluster of interns, graduate interns, undergraduate interns, and they're here now. And Sharon, if you could take it from here and introduce your interns as well.
Thank you, Barry, for the very nice introduction. I am very fortunate to have 4 interns this semester. I have Corinne McPeters, who is a first-year Columbia student. I also have Nick Bono, who is a first-year Albany student, and Andrew Kaminsky, also a first-year Albany student, and also Kayla McGuire. Kayla gets to spend her Mondays and Wednesdays with me, and on Monday it's almost all day because she is also in my social methods class. at Marist, where I am an adjunct instructor. Interns are very important to agencies, and sometimes I think that people do not recognize the value of having them or all that they contribute. And I am looking forward to this year having them do a number of different projects. Would any of you like to say something? Because we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much for the awesome. I won't speak for all of us, but I think I can when I say we're all really excited to be here and really grateful for the amount of trust that you've shown in us already and the opportunity to learn and absorb all of this great knowledge that all of you are sharing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thumbs up? You know, I heard this statement one time that a good teacher is immortal. You never forget a good teacher. I can guarantee you one thing, your experience with Sharon, you will never forget because of the fact that she truly, truly, truly knows how to do advocacy. So I know that she's so appreciative that you are there. Look, we've seen interns, you know, internship placements not work. This one is an oasis with Sharon. So you're at the right place at the right time. So thank you, Sharon. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to move us into our discussion today, navigating the maze. You know, in my classes, one of the things I have students do is not be distracted by diagnosis or title. I also have students integrate faces and places. So the fact of, you know, being able to put a face on this. So Sharon and I talked over the weekend, Anne-Marie and I touched base, and what we're really thinking is this idea of navigating the maze. You know, when there's a knock on the door or when you see something, you know, when, you know, so people are hesitant, you know, to report, to raise their hand and say, I think I have a problem here, whether it be about a neighbor or about themselves. I mean, one of the things that became very clear that I did not think about coming into this project is that some family members are hesitant to provide any type of reporting or be able to say to somebody, hey, this is what's going on, because they're concerned about the legal impact on their family member. One of the things that we've talked about when we first got together is, you know, what the definition of elder abuse is, and it varies. Interestingly enough, and maybe this will change now, but New York State is one of the only states that doesn't have mandatory reporting for elder abuse. The reason why, there's a lot of the different, you know, interpretations of why. But the fact is, as licensed professionals, we have to report child abuse. But elder abuse, there isn't mandatory reporting, and hopefully that'll change. So Sandy, maybe we could start with you leading us off about, without obviously piercing confidentiality, some of the cases that have come to you as the attorney, and some of the things that, excuse me, your interpretation of them. And look, we've all, as students, you understand this. You're in a field where people are going to be running towards you because things aren't going well in their life. You're in a field that you're going to see things that you're not even going to believe. But you're in a field where you have to understand as well that not all families look like yours. But the field that we're in, whether it be, you know, Sandy as the attorney advocate, or whether it be Sharon or Anne-Marie or Tim or Jerry, we're all running towards scenarios where people typically are running away. So Sandy, do you want to start?
Sure, Larry. You know, elder abuse, as you mentioned, is, you know, there's all kinds of different elder abuse. People are fairly familiar with financial elder abuse, because that's one of the things that you always get warnings about. You know, there's this fraud coming. It's Christmas. Don't you know, when someone sends you something with a picture of a baby that's obviously sick, or even a pet, you know, touches your heart, watch out. I always tell my clients, never, never, never give any money over the phone. You know, things like that. People are sort of aware of that. And unfortunately, a lot of the abuse on many levels, physical abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, comes from family members. And so what happens with family members is totally different, because you will have people who first, you know, oh yes, I'll forgive you because you say you'll never do this again. Or, you know, the flip side is, if you don't give me money, you're going to end up in a nursing home. That's that kind of abuse. I'm going to take away your pet if you don't do such and such, you know. So, I mean, I've had cases where, well, for example, I had a whole family come in, and I knew some of the members of the family. And they said basically, oh, we're here because our brother has been stealing money from our parents. He lives with them, and went through this whole thing, and he admitted it to them that he did it. And the father was like, okay, whatever has to happen. I said, you know, this is a crime. You can report him to the police if he's not stopping. And I went through all the different things. And the mother said, I never want to report it to the police. I never want to report it to the DA. I don't want him hurt. I don't want him going to jail. You know, even though I said, yeah, likelihood is he'll never go to jail. You know, so it's that two parts of it. One, people don't realize that they're being abused, which is probably more of a psychological thing for you, Larry. They don't know what falls into that category. They don't know what people are allowed to do in their family, what they're not allowed to do. There's that part, they just don't know. And the other part is they're really, really reluctant to report, to do anything that will get their children or other family in trouble. So it's really widespread.
If you had to give someone, you know, we know that our video casts are being distributed statewide and nationwide, and we know that you know, elder abuse impacts the individual and the family. From where you sit from the legal bench, what advice would you give the individual? What advice would you give the family? And what advice would you give agency staff?
Yeah, it really depends on the circumstance. You know, number one is you want to stop the abuse. So where does that go? And that depends. It depends on you know, if someone in a family has been getting along with something for a long time, it's hard to stop. Okay, that means, okay, do you report it to the police? Do you report it to Adult Protective Services? You know, it's that moving to the next level where the parent, for example, is sort of giving their okay to move it to the next level, because they've probably tried a lot of stuff to stop it. The reason why that's so important is, if abuse has been going on a long time, there's a method to that which the abuser can continue and continue and continue unless someone steps in. Having someone step in who's a professional, like Adult Protective Services, police, DA, whatever it is, means that they can view it as an independent party. Okay, people who have been abused, I've found, if it's gone on long enough, they often will just accept it and say, this is how life is. Move it to the next level. And then you see someone who can have that view and know that it's not acceptable. So that's always the first thing I would do. Some people come to me and say, oh, we want to sue him. We want to take him down. I said, yes, okay. Suing him or her is not going to do what you want to do, aside from the fact it can take forever. But there's agencies that can handle that and can handle that without being emotionally involved. And I think that's really important.
You know, how we ended up here is that we hosted a elder abuse awareness conference June 3 years ago with a consortium from Orange County, St. Luke's Medical Center, Orange County Office for Aging, our center, and we had 500 people attend, which was incredible because we know that this is an issue that everybody's paying attention to. And typically, but then with the COVID quarantine, we had to pivot, and that's how we ended up. And I think we pivoted quickly and efficiently onto a virtual platform, and it also increased our reach. Typically at a conference, I'll ask to go last when I'm presenting to the audience. So here comes the medical director, here comes the DA, here comes the police department, and they're all talking about what happens upon the injury, what happens upon the incident. And they're great. Orange County is rich with resources. Anne Marie, and I'm not just saying this because she's a dear friend and colleague, but she does a really great job in being present, as well does Tim Murphy through Adult Protective Services. But I typically ask to go last because I say, one of the things I have people do is, and it's a very powerful image, is that I ask people to put their heads into their lap and put their hands over their head like they're cowering. Because I want them to understand how it feels how to cower. Because if they don't do something, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be cowering, trying to protect themselves. And maybe they have to figure out, practicing that, how to be a good cower. Because what I really say is, if you really want to stop elder abuse, here's my recommendation: fight back. Teach people how to fight back. And I don't mean physically fight back. I mean attitudinally. Like, how dare you? I mean, there are a number of people on this team that are beyond the threshold of 60 years old. Therefore, by national standards, we're considered to be elders. Can you imagine at this point, if you felt that somebody was abusing you, how you would give voice to that, how you would want to stop it? But as Sandy said, there's a pattern. Sometimes it's so insidious that you don't even know that you've been violated until after the fact. So Sharon, you come to the table with the voice coming from the street level advocate. You're working with cases. You're going into people's homes. You're seeing, firsthand. You have your interns that you're training. Talk to us about, again, confidentiality not being pierced, but talk to us about some of the faces or cases that you've had to address that just, one of the things that we teach students in the clinical world is how not to fall off the chair. There are going to be people saying things to you in your practice that you're not going to believe. And you're going to want to fall off the chair, or you're going to want to have a response like, you must be kidding me. But Sharon, you know that based upon our training, we don't fall off the chair. But talk to us about some of the things that you've been exposed to in this world of elder abuse as a practitioner. Okay, you're muted. Just there you go.
And no dogs this time either. So
Yes.
I'm unmuted.
Oh, okay.
One of my students ran in to tell me. Anyway, first of all, I think that elder abuse is far more prevalent than we give credence to. And it isn't only the elder abuse that you see in terms of what Sandy was talking about, family members. It's seeped into every single crevice of our society, for heaven's sakes. There are the phone calls that come in that are, trying to sell you medical devices that you do not need. There is the scams. Most recent one that I dealt with was a Spectrum scam, which was Spectrum is giving a break to seniors today on their bill. Hold on and speak to our customer rep. Customer rep comes on and says, we are willing to reduce your bill from $180 down to $140. This is a one-time offer, and you must pay it now. Now, my radar goes up as soon as they say, you must pay it now, and we're going to give you a number that you need to call. You need to put it on a credit card, okay? Then there are the grandma and the grandpa scares. You know, your child has been arrested, your grandson is being arrested, needs to be bailed out. Those are the everyday ones. And there are the bigger scams. And one of the probably more prevalent catfishing places to hook up is on Facebook. You know, we have a lot of people out there, especially during this particular time and with COVID. Seniors no longer can go to the places that they're used to going to because of the limited availability. Many of them don't drive. If they were getting transportation through volunteers, the likelihood is that that volunteer program has limited volunteers because most of their volunteers were seniors. So suddenly there's a nice person on Facebook who decides to friend you. That nice person on Facebook is probably also looking not only to friend you, but to defund your savings account and your bank account with some horrific story about they're stuck in some foreign country and they had this horrible incident. And I could probably go on for an hour talking about all of these scenarios that just keep popping up, never ending, never stopping.
I have to tell you, recently, I guess Friday, the home phone rings. Rarely use the home phone. I only have a phone line because of a fax machine, which I'll probably figure out how to get rid of that. And it's a robotic call, sounds robotic. And it's from the Social Security Department, and my card has been, violated. And, if
Yep.
you could, and one of the things that I read and I saw on a newscast is when they call up and they say, is this so-and-so? Is this Larry Force? Never say yes, because what's happening is your voice is being recorded, to capture that yes. And the fact is, I'll usually say, who's calling? I have two friends. One friend has made a little cottage industry where if you keep on getting calls from a certain entity and then you report them and they continue to call you, they're fined and you can be the recipient of the fine. I have no idea how to go about doing that, but he's received a couple $1,000s from, reporting these places, and they keep on, nailing them with the phone calls, and then he reports them again. I have had a couple of incidents where somebody's called and I'll flip it. I'll say, I am so glad you called. I've been waiting to talk to you. Do you mind if can I just get some information from you? So what I'm doing is I'm flipping it and then boom, they hang up immediately. But it is insidious. If you're living alone and the phone rings and you come from that cohort that you answer the phone and you're polite, there are people, that give everything. I love Amtrak, and I may have told this story, but it's in my mind. So I ended up getting a MasterCard from Amtrak to get miles for travel. I'm at a conference. The county executive is going to be speaking. It's about addictions. I want to hear what he has to say. I just got the card. Boom. A text or a phone call comes in from the Bank of America. I run out into the lobby. Something about my credit card. They need to upload additional information. I run out to the bank, to the lobby of the hotel, because I want to get back to hear what the county executive has to say. and they're asking me things. I gave them everything but a thumbprint and a retina scan. I gave them my name, my full social security number,
Ah,
back on the thing on the back of the card. And then I ran back and I sat down to hear what the county executive had to say. And then it hit me. What happens if that wasn't them? So I'm sitting there, I'm listening to what he had to say. And then after he was done, I go and I called Bank of America, and guess what? It wasn't them. Okay. And as a result of that, boom, they had to close down the account, put on that credit, a shield for a year. I mean, it's crazy, but it's insidious. So you shouldn't be embarrassed if you get taken, because the routine is so sophisticated. And when we go back to this idea of navigating the maze, some people have, what's the first door to knock on? I'm a big believer that your first door should be the Office for Aging, whatever county you're in, because they're well equipped to be able to help navigate you, walk with you, guide you. I'm a big believer you call Adult Protective Services, either on the county level or on the state level. Those hotlines are confidential. You're not going to be identified. I would recommend that if you have a relationship with an agency like Sharon, you would call her, because her agency is well equipped to deal with this. Or you've done business with Sandy before and you know that he's an elder attorney, or even if you haven't done business with him before, he's an elder attorney, call them. I mean, the Alzheimer's Association has an interesting model for training. And when they talk about training first line people, here's who they've trained. Obviously, the EMT group that may go into a house in order to be aware that somebody might be having cognitive difficulties when they're addressing the response. They train beauticians. They train bank tellers, because a lot of times that's the first line. People, when they go to a beautician, may be talking about things. People, when they go to a bank teller and you notice that this just doesn't seem right. If you see something that doesn't seem right, doesn't feel good, you get the vibe, you know the intuition that we all are driven by. So, even during COVID, the takeaway for all of us is that we are open, we are available, and you don't have to do this alone. Sandy? I thought you had your hand before I ask you that. So how about from other people here on the panel? Sharon's interns at Jewish Family Services, Danielle, Alyssa, comments, reactions? What do you think? Danielle, you want to go first? I'm going to ask you to unmute.
So just like what Larry Force had said about his card and Amtrak, actually happened to me too. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to me. And I had to do with my Subaru's car warranty. And they're like, and they kept pressuring me, go get your card. Tell me and I'm like, I don't have my card on me. They're like, is it Master? If it's a MasterCard, these are the first. And I'm like, this seems a little fishy. And after a while, I just hung up on them. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I called my bank. I canceled my card. It was crazy. I was just like, it floored me, which I'm like, if it could happen to me, it could happen to anybody.
Yeah, and just think about the reaction you had. Anger with yourself, shame, you can't believe it. I read this thing a couple months ago. They did a survey. What would people rather lose, their wallet or their phone? And the answer in this day and age is that people would rather lose their wallet. But the fact is, because the phone has so many contacts and everything. But think about that. Well, if you've lost your card, or if somehow the information's been pierced, you're angry at yourself. I can't believe I did that. And then some family members, older family members, once they realize it happens, the last group they really want to tell are their sons and daughters, because they don't want to hear the blowback. They don't want to hear, how could you have done that? It is so sophisticated.
Part of that, since I deal with a lot of clients whose parents are possibly going to live in an institutional setting like nursing home or assisted living, is a lot of older people are scared that their kids are going to push them into a nursing home because they say, well, you can't take care of yourself anymore. And that's a biggie. People don't want to lose that right to make their own decisions, and which is one of the things that you and I, Larry, talk about a lot. I guess all of us, young people make bad decisions, and people let it slide. Old people make bad decisions, and all of a sudden, oh, you can't take care of yourself. The fact is that people can make their own decisions. People can be strong. People can be tough, and it's like when you have. I mean, look, I was just on vacation. All my kids said, "Oh, make sure you wear a mask. You're going to the South." Every single one of this. Like, wait a minute, I can take care of myself. I mean, I know this, but it's that role reversal. You've been taking care of them all your life. Now they're sort of taking care of you, and sometimes you don't like it, and with good reason. You can love your family, but you don't have to do everything they say. You have to be tough. You have to report things, and along with what both you and Danielle said, never give any information on the phone when you do not initiate the call. If you call your bank, it's your bank. You call your car dealership, whatever it is. If someone calls and starts asking questions like that. And by the way, Social Security never calls, always by letter. We get a ton of that stuff now, and I cursed them out and I realized, wait a minute, it's a robot call. They can't hear me. But you have to be tough. You have to know that, hey, I have my rights. I have my property. It's mine. And now, especially when a lot of people have been isolated, they want to pick up that call.
Mm-hmm.
I have to resist that, because if you don't make the call, you never know who it is.
Well, like as Danielle and I just gave examples, okay, we're competent, we're engaged, and we both got sucked in. Okay, that's how sophisticated this is. Alyssa?
Yeah, it's incredible because they're relentless. So
Yeah.
they'll send text messages and emails and letters in the mail and phone calls, and nobody can keep up and be perfect all the time. And that's what they really bank on. And they're good at what they do. Since we've been doing this the last 2.5 years, we've heard so many creative ways that people are targeting the elderly population specifically, but targeting everybody else. And it was really eye-opening that you really have to be careful and almost act like your own attorney in a sense and go over every single question and every detail.
And your point is well taken. And the interesting thing is, think about this. We haven't really been talking about physical abuse. This is more of a psychological, emotional abuse. How about from the interns up there in Kingston? Comments, reflections, observations?
Unmute.
Yeah, I had a question about some research efforts that might be going on right now to kind of demystify the scope of this type of abuse. Like, I know there's certainly data collected when things go to law enforcement, but does anyone on this team know of any unified forces trying to stratify and consolidate the data of how often this is happening and who is organizing it?
Yeah, the NIH has a particular component that deals with issues in aging. There are national elder abuse consortiums, but I really think that it would be more powerful if we started talking about how we could implement this type of thinking into the curriculum of grade school children, high school, middle school children, high school children, and in colleges. I mean, typically, if you think about your own undergraduate world and now coming into your graduate world, you're not going to take a particular course specifically on elder abuse. Why not? Because it is a violation. Years ago, myself and a colleague and I did an article called The Metaphysical Abuse of Elders. and we were talking about the not the financial abuse, but the assault on the personhood. I mean, aging by itself is, and my friend Roger Monti and I have talked about this for years, aging by itself, as long as Sharon involved in those conversations, aging by itself in the United States is a process of liquidation. It's a liquidation of voice, it's a liquidation of resources, it's a liquidation of assets. There was a study that was done out of Columbia University, Corinne, and they looked at what choices do people have when they're in nursing homes. And the sad result was the biggest choice that people have that are in nursing homes are what type of dessert they want. So there is this liquidation, this silencing of older people. And I think that, and this ties into some of the work that Sandy and I do about this age loudly. You gotta step up. You gotta stand out. You gotta give voice to it. So as far as that question that you have, that's a great question that hopefully plants a seed that when we catch up to you next year, your second year, or we catch up to you in practice, you want to pick an interest, or, is it too early for the four of you to specialize? Maybe just a little bit too
We
early.
have to wait till next year.
Yeah, but I'm talking about even in your practice. Is it a little bit too early to specialize? Maybe, but at some point you're going to specialize, and maybe elder abuse or elder gerontology is your field. How about anything else as we bring this to close?
I just have one more comment to make about reporting. One of the reasons that there is a grant for creating EMDTs, which is the Elder Multidisciplinary Teams throughout New York State, is the purpose for that is actually to collect data. And the funding comes out of 3 state agencies and the federal government. Through the Community of Living for the federal government, the Office of Victim Services, the New York State Office of Aging, which actually this year in July put the requirement for EMDTs into legislative law. They are now required in every county in New York State. So there is work being done on collecting data. Prior to this, it was pretty loosey-goosey, and often, even though it may have been reported to the police, did not make it into the consolidated crime report. It just was not considered important enough. And that's really the problem.
That
It
is
is important.
I think that the data might encourage the laws we need for mandatory reporting.
Yes, that's the purpose.
Because exactly. I mean, it's like, how big a problem is this? Well, we don't know, and you don't know. And the only other thing I want to say, since you brought up Larry, a push on age loudly, is that people don't like to do things that, especially I seem to see it a lot. My clients come in, sometimes older clients, sometimes not older but retired, and they say, well, we don't have to do anything anymore, we're just but aging loudly is really easy, okay, because lots of the stuff that you get to do is really fun. Like, you can say all kinds of stuff as a senior that you could never say before, and people just say, oh yeah, he's older, and you said, boy, I got away with that. When I mentioned I was on vacation to Myrtle Beach, and my girlfriend and I just love dancing. So we looked at where can we go dancing here. We found a place, and it was like nobody, not the young people, especially not the men. No one was dancing. We were, And when we did that, like people just really noticed that, and they got up and danced too. It's like, great. Well, that was part of aging loudly. We don't have to be embarrassed about anything. We can do anything. You can speak your mind. You can go out partying, go out doing all kinds of stuff that makes you feel like you have a life that's worth living and worth fighting for. And it's, you know, as we've talked a lot about this, a lot of it's just a state of mind, a state of mind. I'm not letting you take advantage of me. I'm not letting you abuse me. I'm not letting, you know, I have my life and I'm living it and having a good time.
Well, thank you, Sandy. And there was some comment up in Kingston, yes?
Well, yeah, we were thinking that the big part is, one of the big parts is shame. And, you know, I could see people who were being abused financially to feel, yeah, really ashamed that they didn't pick up on this. And then there's the threat, well, you know, to have their choices and their voice revoked from them. So I wonder if there's a way to destigmatize the shame around this issue, because I feel just talking about it, that's really painful to feel so ashamed and not even wanting to connect and communicate with your family members about this. So yeah, I wonder if are there any workshops or any kind of way to communicate, you know, to reduce this shame so we can kind of bridge the gaps and break the silence.
And look, I'm not just
Sharon,
saying.
I'm so glad you
I'm not
brought
just
your
saying,
insurance.
hold on a second, Sam. I'm not just saying this to
Me
make you feel
too.
good. Yeah, I'm not saying this just to make you feel good, but that's a great topic. And that's a topic that you really may want to think about exploring, either in the form of paper or practicum or something. I mean, the fact is that where the four of you are right now, you know, you're in a great place because the field is wide open. And, you know, to have a conversation with you a year from now, 2 years from now, and you're coordinating a project on shame, that's a hot topic. And I'd highly encourage you to do that. So thank you. So look, based upon time, we have to run. This has been great. This has been called Navigating the Maze Part 1. In 2 weeks, we'll be back called Navigating the Maze Part 2, bringing in Tim Murphy and Anne Marie and Jerry. And at that point, Alyssa, I'd like you to give voice to the work that you did with Tim and his staff, because we always talk about, you know, the person, but let's talk about the impact that it has on staff, this elder abuse thing. I have a good announcement to make. I think a very good announcement is that where are we going with this? We're going with this. We're leading up to a summit on June the 15th, which we will be hosting a virtual summit, and that's June the 15th. Why? Because that's World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and our initiative will create and promote a virtual summit on the issue of elder abuse awareness. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to Alyssa and thank you all.
Thank you. And as you can tell by the talk we've had today, that you're not alone. And if you have something to report, feel free to reach out to New York Connect at area code 845-615-3710 for yourself or anyone else you know that might be in need. And thank you so much for joining us today. You've been listening to another episode of Elder Abuse Awareness Virtual Coalition. And if you want to hear this program again, share it with friends, or leave a comment, log on to our website, www.elderabuseawarenessvirtualcoalition.org. Have a great day.
Thank you all.